Hey, it's the Narrative Nerd here. Woo! Welcome back to another episode of Rigor Mortis. I thought I would do one down here today. Do you know, I'm holding Kaito here and I realized that he is literally like the central focal point for my entire collection. It's really interesting. Like, because of the stuff that happens in his story, it is the fodder for everybody else's story. It's really neat. I will get into that in another video. When we last left our Rigor Mortis heroes, Kaito and Hayden had gone to the beach. Hayden had decided that Kaito was stressing out far too much and had basically had his mother kidnap him. They went to the beach and everything was fine until they went to the arcade. Kaito, focusing on his game, did not notice as a man started to approach them. Hayden did. The man was scruffy, unkempt, and eventually lunged when he was close enough at Kaito. Hayden, seeing what was happening, acted on autopilot and jumped in the way. He got tackled to the ground, and in that moment, Kaito thought that maybe this was it. Maybe Hayden's death day was finally upon them, and Hayden was about to be murdered right in front of him. That wasn't the case. The man wasn't going for Hayden, the man was going for Kaito. And as the man is led away, Kaito sees a patch on his arm, which tells Kaito that this man is part of the Immortalists. After the man is taken away, Hayden realizes that Kaito is upset more than he thought that Kaito would be, really. He says, right, let's go find Mum. I think we should go. And Kaito nods mutely. He is having a crisis. The Immortalists are really bad news. Every time they crop up, death has to basically shift. The location is only supposed to be known to the Death Seers and the people that are involved in the death reincarnation into a mortal form shebang. The Immortalists, they found out on their own through whatever means, and they are a danger. Kaito is absolutely convinced that Hayden dying now has got something to do with the Immortalists. They find Hayden's mum. They explain what happened, and Hayden's mum is like, okay, yep, let's go home. She gets all of her children together. They stop off for a very quick meal of fish and chips, and Kaito can hardly taste it. He is so upset and scared, and everybody that comes by, he's looking and looking and looking for the symbol of the Immortalists on their clothes. Once they're done, they drive home, and on the way, Kaito notices out of the corner of his eye through the windows of the car the phantoms running beside his car. The phantoms Kaito feels are following Hayden now. They're just waiting for the moment to strike, to take his life, because Hayden is friends with death himself. Hayden is courting death. They get to Kaito's home. Kaito and Hayden step out of the car. Hayden is going to escort Kaito to his door. And as Hayden watches Kaito's shoulders are going further and further up with tension. His hands are clenching and unclenching into fists at his side. They get to Kaito's front door, and Hayden he's putting his hand forward. He wants to touch Kaito's shoulder, but he doesn't want to freak the poor kid out any more than he already is. He goes forward, and he's just about skimming the edges of Kaito's shirt when Kaito whirls around on him and goes, "You didn't have to do that. I was fine. I'm not weak. You didn't have to jump in like that. I could have defended myself." Hayden is absolutely flummoxed. "What?" he says. He draws back, taking a step backwards. I didn't mean... And Kaito he's livid. His face is twisted with malice. He says, "You're just like the others. You don't accept me at all. You think I'm just some weak little thing that needs protecting because I'm tired all the time or I'm small. You suck." And Hayden says, No, you were concentrating. The man was going to go for you. You didn't even see. I just acted. And Kaito says, I don't need someone like you around in my life. And he's breaking apart inside as these words are coming out of his mouth. Go away, Hayden. You're just as bad as all the others. You're worse because I trusted you. Go away. And Hayden is like, no, that's not what happened. Kaito, you can't really think that. And Kaito shakes his head, turns around, fumbles with his keys at the door. No, go away, he says. And then he storms through his door and slams it shut behind him. Hayden is absolutely devastated. He has seen this kind of anger before. Caleb has been angry before, but never at him. Never because of something he's done. It's always in relation to something else. And Hayden doesn't know what to do with this. He raises his hand up as if he's going to knock on the door, as if he's going to try and talk to Kaito, but then his hand simply falls back to his side. Crushed, he turns and heads back to the car. His mother, Mrs. Stone, has been watching the altercation, and as soon as Hayden gets back into the car, she says, "Are you okay? What was that all about?" And Hayden says, "It's nothing, Mum, let's just go." So they drive off. Behind his front door, Kaito listens to the sound of Hayden's car driving away, and then he sinks down against the wood with his forehead just touching it like, why? Why does this have to happen? Why does this have to be my life? And who is there to comfort him in his time of need? It's a phantom. Kaito feels the brush of the phantom, the cold sting. He can smell in the air something. It's not quite the fragrance of asphodel. It's something else. Something more sinister, more metallic. Kaito looks up and actually starts to take in his surroundings. It is just awful. He feels his heartbeat start to escalate because around him, it feels like his hall is dark, is colder, and packed into each and every crevice of his home are phantoms, big ones, small ones, and every time he looks at them, they meet his eyes with their white, glowing stare. What the hell? He says. Mom? Dad? There's no reply, and the house is eerily still despite the phantoms being around. He shifts around them, trying desperately not to step through their see-through, translucent bodies. He peeks his head round into the living room, and it looks okay. Everything is in place, except it's not, because there's one of the shelves at the far end of the room has been knocked. And his mother, being a neat freak, it's one of the ways that she copes with being a death seer, is being a neat freak. She would have put that right. Something's not right here. He shifts himself around to the kitchen and immediately draws back. There's been a struggle. There are plates everywhere, cutlery, bits of chipped wood. There's been a big fight here. Kaito is starting to breathe even heavier. He's on the verge of passing out, honestly. Like, he feels sick. He feels like he just wants to stop functioning, like curl up in a ball and stop functioning. The phantoms are prowling around everywhere, and they keep touching him like little spiders, running their fingers all over him. He doesn't find his family in the kitchen, so Kaito turns around and heads back to the hallway. He checks all around, and again he sees signs of further struggle. The bat that his mother keeps behind the door in the hallway is gone. Okay, he says. Kaito is remembering something as he climbs the stairs to the upper floor of his house. Of course, He has touched his family in the past. Honestly, he hasn't actually had any physical contact with any member of his family for several years, at least not without wearing gloves. But as a child, he remembers seeing the way that they're going to die. His mother and father are going to be murdered. It's not unusual for a death seer. It's really not. Kaito just never really clocked that their bedroom was where they were going to be murdered in this particular house. He walks along the hallway and the stench is overpowering now. It's this awful metallic taint meat. The phantoms are starting to get more and more dense. They are writhing. They are excited. It is like something out of a nightmare that you couldn't even fathom. It is just horrible. And Kaito pushes open their door knowing exactly what he's going to see, and there it is. It is a murder scene, and it is just so gruesome. Yeah, I won't go into details, but yeah, you can imagine just like an epically gruesome murder scene. There is the bat. It is there, and his mother and father are lying together on the other side of their bed. Kaito, being who he is no stranger to this. He's seen more gruesome things and more psychotic fuck-ups than you can imagine. He has been subjected to that since youth. But to see this now, directly in front of him, his family that he grew up with, even though they didn't particularly care for him, Kaito is just instantly traumatized. He turns around and throws up all over his mother's rug. All the fish and chips that he ate with Hayden on the rug. The Immortalists have been here. They were looking for him, and they killed the Death Seer responsible for him so that he could not be found by the Death Seers and moved before the Immortalists can get to him. Kaito, he sinks down against the door shivering, and he tries to think through the swirl of just terror and misery and panic and just, yeah. The Immortalists are probably going to come back for him. They know that he's coming back at some point. They just don't know where he's gone or who he's with. So he decides that first of all, he has to get out of here. He doesn't know where he's going to go, though. He has no idea how to get in touch with the Death Seers. They have their own network of things. They don't tell him anything because they're afraid that that information is going to be leaked out somehow through his godlike abilities. So Kaito, he leaves when the phantoms start to encroach upon him, as if they're going to take his soul right along with his family's. In the back of his mind, he is even aware that he is going to have to process their souls very soon, or else they're going to start to have problems in being kept in the ob mill. He very, very shakily makes his way downstairs. He manages to grab a backpack, the one he took with him on the trip to the beach, and then he stuffs it full of what he assumes is essentials, or what his addled brain assumes is essentials. His wallet, his phone, the MP3 player that was his sister's that he loved. He manages to grab that and stuff that in there, and then he manages to stuff in some food and drink as well. He figures he'll just go somewhere secluded, freak out on his own, and then make a proper plan. So off he goes. Running out of the kitchen, past the phantoms, through the phantoms, seeing flashes of how his family have died in their bodies as he runs through them. Kaito flings open the door once more and tears away from the premises. And that is where I'm going to leave it today. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this content and would like to know where the story is going, then please hit the like and subscribe button. I do try and update every Wednesday with varied content, and I will be continuing this story as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.